A mother's love is supposed to be unconditional, protective, fierce, but sometimes it becomes something else entirely. On September 9th, 2022, in the peaceful countryside of County Westmeath, a horrific crime shattered that belief. Lynn Egar, a mother of two, did what no parent should ever do. Her children, 5-year-old Thelma and 2-year-old Michael, were buckled into a car that would become their final resting place. Fire consumed everything: the heat, the smoke, the screams that never made it out. But here's the chilling part. Lynn Egar survived. She was rescued. The children left behind. Was this a desperate act or a calculated one? A mother's instinct is to protect. So, what happens when that instinct is replaced by something far darker? This is the case of Lynn Egar, a mother whose actions left an entire nation in shock. Welcome to True Crime Stories videos. I welcome you, my viewers, and most especially my subscribers, for your support as we keep improving and bringing you daily told and untold true crime stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Most tragedies don't start with warning signs. No eerie music, no dark clouds rolling in, just a regular day, like any other. September 9th, 2022, was one of those days. A normal morning in County Westmeath, Ireland. The air was cool, the roads were quiet, and inside one home, 2 little children were just beginning their day. 5-year-old Thelma and her little brother Michael, only 2 years old, were full of energy, like most kids their age. They probably jumped on the bed, begged for breakfast, and ran around with their toys. Just happy, just safe. Their father, Michael Denny, had already left for work. He had no idea this would be the last morning he'd ever have with his children. Before he left, he made them a promise. After school, they would go collect chestnuts. A small, simple thing. The kind of moment parents take for granted. But it never happened. Because by that afternoon, Thelma and Michael would be gone. No one could have guessed what was coming. Not the people who passed by them that morning. Not the neighbors. Not even their father. Because sometimes, the danger isn't outside. It's not a stranger lurking in the shadows. Sometimes, it's inside the home. And sometimes, it wears the face of a mother. Lynn Egar, their own mother, would soon do something no mother should ever do. But before we get there, let's talk about who Thelma and Michael were. Because they weren't just victims, they were real children, with real personalities, real dreams, and real love for life. Thelma Denny was 5 years old, a little girl with bright eyes and a big heart. She loved animals, playing outside, and most of all, she loved her little brother. Michael Denny, or Mikey as his dad called him, was only 2. Tiny, curious, always following his sister around. Thelma wasn't just his sibling, she was his best friend. Wherever she went, he went too. Their father later said that from the moment Mikey was born, the two were inseparable. They were always side by side, like 2 peas in a pod, laughing, playing, causing mischief together. They had a whole life ahead of them. First days of school, birthday parties, learning to ride bikes. But all of that was stolen from them, in one terrible moment. That afternoon, Lynn Egar put her 2 children in the car. Maybe they thought they were going for a little drive. Maybe they were excited. Maybe they didn't know anything was wrong. But something was very wrong. Because soon that car would be swallowed by flames, and their mother, she would survive, while they did not. What really happened that day? And why would a mother do something so unthinkable? Stay with me, because this story is only just beginning. It only takes a second for everything to change. One moment, you're driving down a quiet country road. The next, flames are licking at the edges of reality, turning a car into an inferno. But let's back up, because this wasn't just any fire, and this wasn't just any road. Lynn Egar was behind the wheel. Her two children, Thelma and Michael, were in the back seat. A mother and her babies out for a drive. Harmless, right? Except nothing about this was harmless. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe the car just caught fire. Cars do that, right? Wrong. Modern cars don't just spontaneously combust in the middle of the Irish countryside, especially not with two kids trapped inside and their mother somehow making it out, mostly unscathed. So, what really happened on that road in Lacan, Multifarnham? At some point during that drive, something in Lynn's mind must have shifted. Was she calm? Was she crying? Was she even hesitating? We'll never know. But what we do know is that she stopped the car in a secluded area. No witnesses, no cameras, just her and the children. Then, fire. A fire erupts. Thick, black smoke curls into the sky. The car turns into a furnace, heat warping the air around it. Inside, Thelma and Michael are trapped. Small hands beating against the windows, their cries swallowed by the flames. And outside, Lynn Egar, watching it burn. Now, here's where it gets really strange. Somehow, miraculously, Lynn manages to get out of the burning car, smoke-stained, but barely burned. A passerby sees the flames, sees her stumbling away, and does what any decent human being would do, rushes to help. They pull Lynn to safety, ask if there's anyone else inside. And this is the moment where she could have screamed, "My children, get them out." The moment where she could have tried, really tried, to save them. Instead, silence. By the time emergency services arrive, the car is fully engulfed. The fire has taken Thelma and Michael first. The flames have erased every trace of their small, fragile bodies. 2 lives, gone. And the woman who was supposed to protect them, she's sitting on the roadside, waiting. At first, people were shocked. "What a terrible accident," they whispered. "That poor mother." But soon, the whispers turned into questions. And those questions, they would unravel a truth far darker than anyone could have imagined. Because this wasn't an accident. This was murder. And Lynn Egar had a lot of explaining to do. A ringing phone, a simple sound. Annoying maybe, harmless usually. But sometimes a ringing phone is the sound of a world about to shatter. Michael Dennehy was at work, like any other day. He had plans, nothing fancy. Just a quiet evening with his kids, maybe a bit of laughter, maybe some bedtime stories. He wasn't expecting news. He wasn't expecting tragedy. He wasn't expecting... On the other end of the line, a voice. Official. Flat. Trying to sound gentle, but there's no gentle way to say something like this. "Mr. Dennehy, there's been an accident." Accident. What a small word for something so huge. He listens, heart pounding, mouth dry. The words don't make sense. A car fire. Thelma. Michael. Gone. The world doesn't end with an explosion. It doesn't crumble like in the movies. No sirens wailing in slow motion. No dramatic falling to your knees in the rain. It ends quietly, in a single moment, when you hear the words that rip your soul apart. Michael Dennehy was still standing, but everything inside him had collapsed. That morning, before leaving for work, Michael made his kids a promise. A small one, the kind parents make without thinking. "We'll go collect chestnuts after school," he told them. Simple, innocent. But now, school had ended, and his children, they weren't coming home. What do you do with that kind of grief? Where do you even put it? Michael didn't scream. He didn't break things. He just stood there. And in his mind, one thought, circling over and over like a bird that had lost its way. I should have been there. I should have protected them. I should have saved them. When Michael finally went home, the house felt different. Not just empty. Wrong. 2 little coats still hung by the door. 2 pairs of shoes, exactly where they had left them. The world was moving forward, but inside these walls, time had stopped. Toys lay scattered on the floor, waiting for children who would never pick them up again. A drawing on the fridge, a silly one, messy and colourful, signed with a tiny, careful Thelma and Michael. He traced his fingers over their names, as if somehow touching those letters could bring them back. But they weren't coming back. In the beginning, all Michael had was pain, but soon that pain turned into something else, because something wasn't adding up. His children were gone, but their mother, Lynn, she was alive, barely hurt, no burns, no smoke inhalation, no desperate attempt to pull them from the fire. How does a mother survive while her children burn? At first, the police treated it like an accident, a tragedy, a mother who had lost her children. But Michael, he wasn't so sure. And he wasn't the only one. Because soon, the town would start whispering, and those whispers, they would become something much, much louder. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. And the truth, it was about to come crashing down. It started like any other investigation. A burned-out car, a grieving mother, a town drowning in sorrow. But something wasn't right. Something about this tragedy felt off. And when the detectives started digging, they didn't just find ashes and heartbreak. They found secrets. And secrets, as we all know, have a nasty habit of catching up with you. Fire investigators arrived at the scene expecting to find a tragic accident. A mechanical failure, maybe. A fuel leak. Something ordinary. But the burn patterns, the way the fire spread, that was anything but ordinary. This wasn't just a car fire. This was a blaze that had been fueled, federal, encouraged. And as they sifted through the wreckage, something else became clear. Lynn Egar had made it out. Thelma and Michael hadn't. That didn't sit right with investigators. Lynn Egar had one job, one instinct every mother is supposed to have: protect your children. And yet, somehow, she got out of that burning car, without a single attempt to pull her kids with her. The fire spread fast, sure, but fast enough that she didn't even try. Investigators didn't buy it. And when they sat Lynn down for questioning, they expected grief, tears, guilt. What they got was something else entirely. Lynn Egar sat across from detectives. Her hands were steady, her answers even steadier. Too steady. She described the morning, said she was driving, said something felt off with the car. Then she stopped, got out, and suddenly the car was in flames. And just like that, her children were gone. It sounded rehearsed, too simple, too clean, and the detectives weren't the only ones who thought so. Because while Lynn sat in that room, an entirely different story was beginning to emerge. See, here's the thing about modern technology. It doesn't forget. And Lynn? She left a trail. It's for the best. I can't do this anymore. They won't be hurt anymore. Those words, they don't sound like someone worried about a car malfunction. They sound like someone with a plan. And suddenly, this wasn't just a tragic accident. This was something much, much darker. The final piece of the puzzle came from the coroner's office. A detailed report, clinical, cold. But what it revealed, that was anything but. Smoke inhalation, burns, no signs of escape, no struggle. And then, something unexpected. Thelma and Michael had been unconscious before the fire even started. That changed everything. Because now it wasn't just about the fire. It was about what happened before it. And suddenly, there was only one person left to explain it. The evidence was stacking up. The whispers in town had turned into accusations. And Lynn? She was running out of lies. So when they placed the arrest warrant in front of her, she didn't fight. She just lowered her head and exhaled. Maybe she was relieved it was finally over. Or maybe she knew it had never really begun. Because from the moment she struck that match, there was only ever one ending. Justice was coming. And for Lynn Egar, there was no escaping it now. Courtrooms have a strange kind of energy, a mix of tension, curiosity, and in some cases, cold, hard finality. For Lynn Egar, this was it, the last stop, the final act in a tragedy she had written herself. The air was thick, heavy, the kind of silence that only comes before the moment everything shatters. And then she spoke. Lynn Egar rose to her feet. Her hands were steady, her face unreadable. For months she had denied it, told one story, then another. But now she had no more moves left. So when the judge asked how she pleaded, she answered with 2 words. Guilty. Guilty. It took a second for the words to register. For months she had played the victim, the grieving mother. And now, just like that, she folded. Michael Dennehy sat motionless. No tears, no reaction. Just a man who had already lost everything. The prosecutor? A mix of triumph and something else, something colder. Because this wasn't justice. Justice would have been a different outcome entirely. The judge had seen his fair share of monsters. But this was something else. A mother who should have been her children's shield had turned into their executioner. And for that, there was only one sentence: life in prison. As the guards took her away, she turned, just once, just for a second. Was it regret? Was it fear? Or was it just emptiness? No one will ever really know. But one thing was certain. Thelma and Michael never got a second chance. And now, neither would she. The truth was finally coming out. This wasn't a small case. It wasn't about stealing candy or breaking a window. This was about 2 little kids, and the mother who took them away forever. Everyone was waiting. The judge, the jury, the people watching. And Lynn, she just sat there, staring at the floor. Then the judge asked the most important question. Ms. Egar, how do you plead? For months, she said she was innocent, that she didn't do it, that it was an accident. But now, there was nowhere left to hide. And then, she spoke. Guilty. Some people covered their mouths. Others looked at each other, wide-eyed. Even the lawyers seemed surprised. But Michael Dennehy, he didn't move. He just sat there, staring at an old photo of his kids, holding it tight. For the crime of murder, you are sentenced to life in prison. And just like that, it was over. No more pretending, no more stories, just a woman in an orange prison suit walking away with her hands in cuffs. But then, she did something strange. She smiled. Why? The trial is over. The sentence is given. But the pain, that never goes away. 2 little kids are gone. A father is left with only memories. A mother sits in prison. And the biggest question of all still remains, why? Why did she do it? Was she sad? Was she angry? Or was it something worse? This case leaves so many questions. What do you think? Why did Lynn Egar do this? Was it an accident? Or was it something else? Tell us in the comments. Like this video so more people can hear Thelma and Michael's story. And if you love true crime stories that keep you guessing, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to uncover. Rest in peace.